Every gilded cage is built with walls of comfort. The only question is what you're paying for them.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a strange and really modern paradox. That feeling of being trapped by the very success you were always told would set you free. I mean, just read that. It's from a 42-year-old dentist on Reddit. And it's a real gut punch, isn't it? It perfectly captures this quiet desperation that so many people feel. You climb the ladder, you do everything you're supposed to do, only to realize the view from the top isn't what you imagined. This is the heart of what we call the golden handcuffs. You could also call it material bondage. The high salary, the great benefits, the impressive title, they feel like rewards, but over time, they start to feel more like the bars of a very comfortable prison. A gilded cage. In a weird twist, the success you worked so hard for becomes the very thing that's holding you captive. Okay, so if it feels like a trap, why on earth do so many of us willingly stay inside the cage? Well, the answer goes way deeper than just the money. It's actually rooted in some really powerful psychological pressures that are working away inside our own minds. It's like a chain reaction, you know? It starts with social validation. We all want people to approve of us, to say we've got a good job. Then comes the fear. We become terrified of what people will think if we step off that so-called safe path. And society kind of reinforces this, telling us that enduring hardship is noble, that self-sacrifice is a moral virtue. But when you keep burying how you really feel, just saying, oh, it's fine, that resentment just builds and builds until you're completely burned out. And this quote, wow, it really lays bare the social engineering behind it all. When a whole culture starts to believe that self-sacrifice is the definition of being a good person, we learn to police ourselves. We silence our own needs, we call it being responsible, and we stop questioning the very system that needs us to keep doing it. And after a while, something strange happens. The mask you wear for the paycheck, for the approval, it stops feeling like a mask. It starts to feel like your actual face. At that point, leaving the job doesn't just feel like a career change. It feels like you're destroying a piece of yourself. But look, what's going on in our heads is only half the picture. These internal pressures are being cranked up to 11 by some massive external systems. Systems that are literally designed to keep us running in place. A huge piece of this puzzle is something psychologists call the hedonic treadmill. You know exactly how this feels. You get that big promotion, you buy the new car, and for a moment, you're on top of the world. But that thrill fades, right? And it fades surprisingly fast. Your happiness level just resets. And now you need the next big thing just to feel that same rush again. And you better believe the marketing industry has this down to a science. They have become masters at engineering desire. They create urgency out of nothing with flash sales and limited time offers. And they've learned to hook our deepest emotions, love, guilt, fear of missing out, directly to our wallets, completely bypassing our rational brain. It's a full-blown addiction cycle, and it uses our own brain chemistry against us. You see something you want, that's the anticipation. You buy it, that's the hit of dopamine, a real chemical reward. But like any high, it fades, and before you know it, the craving is back, locking you into this endless loop of wanting and buying. So, let's zoom out even further. Beyond our own psychology, beyond marketing, you can actually see the large-scale architecture of the system, the unseen chains that forge these golden handcuffs in the first place. Just look at this number. In the United States alone, there's over $1 trillion in student loan debt. That's not just a statistic. That's a powerful control mechanism. It pushes millions of young people onto a specific career path before they've even had a chance to figure out what they actually want to do with their lives. And this is where some critics make a pretty chilling historical comparison. They look at historical systems like debt peonage, where sharecroppers were legally bound to the land they worked because of the money they owed. And they ask, are we seeing a modern version of that today, where student loans and mortgages functionally chain people to the labor market just to make their payments? Some have even coined a term for this state of being, neo-servitude. The argument is that, sure, we're all legally free, but how free are you really when your economic obligations dictate almost every major choice in your life? Now, some thinkers take this analysis a step further with a really provocative analogy. They compare the underlying logic of the modern 9 to 5 to historical plantation systems. And let's be absolutely clear, this is not an argument of equivalence. It's an analogy meant to highlight shared principles of control, like dictating schedules, exploitation through how wages extract value, surveillance with performance monitoring, and limited mobility, where things like debt and health insurance lock you into your job. Okay, so that all sounds pretty bleak, doesn't it? If we're caught in this huge, complicated web, how do people ever actually break free? Well, they do it by consciously adopting entirely new stories, counter-narratives that challenge the whole system. One of those new stories is minimalism, and at its core, it's an internal rebellion. It's about consciously stepping off that consumerist treadmill by simply asking, what is truly enough for me? It's about trading stuff for what really matters: your time, your freedom, and your experiences. Another path, a more tactical one, is the FIRE movement. That's financial independence, retire early. If minimalism is the why, you could say FIRE is the how. It's a really pragmatic financial strategy. You save and invest aggressively with one single, incredibly powerful goal: to buy back your own time and get free from the 9 to 5 grind, often decades ahead of schedule. You see what both of these movements are doing? They are radically redefining what it means to be successful. They're rejecting the old goals of status and prestige. On this new path, the prize isn't a bigger house. The ultimate goal is autonomy. The real wealth is owning your time. And this all boils down to one final, really crucial point about the choices we think we're making every day. Just think about this quote for a second. You are choosing between two cages painted different colors. So often, the system gives us this illusion of choice, right? You can be a doctor or a lawyer, you can work for this company or that one. But if all those paths lead to the same destination of debt and controlled labor, was it ever a real choice to begin with? And maybe that's the real takeaway here. True liberation isn't about trying to find a more comfortable cage. It's about having the courage to ask if you need to be in a cage at all. It's about stepping back from the default path and consciously, deliberately designing a life that's built on your values. So I'll leave you with this final thought, something to really chew on. With all the effort, all the striving, all the sacrifices, take a hard look and ask yourself, are you building a life you truly want to live? Or are you just building a very, very impressive resume?